So, guys, it is currently day 307. I hope you guys had an amazing weekend and are doing fabulously better than yesterday, as the time is currently 5:25. And today, perhaps, is one of the most important day for me during the week, and that is because it is self-reflection. Now, I must say that before doing my self-reflection, I could look back at this week and say that I have done well. But certainly, there are so many things that I could improve on as I have not yet stretched my limits today or perhaps this week. And the goal is to really exhaust myself both mentally and physically because by doing so, I realize I sleep like a baby at night. So, for the past, when I stay awake or when I have trouble falling asleep, it's simply because I have too much energy left. It's simply because I have not done everything I knew I was capable of doing that day. So, if you have troubles just winding down at night, then maybe there's a slight possibility that you have something on your mind that you didn't get to finish today on that day. Or perhaps you saved or reserved some energy for something. But I ask you guys, what are you saving for? What are you holding on to? Because every single day, it is as if your body resets. So if you don't utilize all the energy in that day, then you're certainly putting it to waste. So we should always aim to excel what we are normally capable of doing. We should always drain our both mind and body to the degree that we will just zone out as soon as we lay in bed. So a lot of the times we have too much energy left for that we don't fall asleep. We have too much things that we could have got done that keeps us at night because we know we haven't completed everything that we could have fulfilled. So today I really want to understand why is it that sometimes I save my energy and why is it that sometimes I choose to give it everything I got even though I know that exhausting myself, draining myself, both mentally and physically, would lead to a more satisfying day, and most importantly, I sleep well at night. So, my burning question to ask myself today is why is it that sometimes I choose to go to the extremes and sometimes I just kind of let my mind say and let my mind win? Without further ado, I'm going to get up now and do some of the self reflection and most importantly, head into my first work block. Because although it's Sunday, it is any other day. And we should not view days as an excuse to take days off. We shouldn't view days as an excuse to justify for our inaction. Because every day should be treated equally. But some days you may just be more free. And in those times when you're more free, you should do more of the internal work rather than distract yourself and squander time that you cannot buy back. I'll speak to you guys soon. So, guys, the time is currently 1:22, and I woke up this morning, and shortly after that, I fell asleep. After meditation, I just was a bit tired and went downstairs and just laid in the sofa. And next second, I knew I just passed out. And a part of me used to think that that is the wrong way to go. But today, certainly, I have revisited that belief, and it turned out that having that nap perhaps helped me today. It helped me as it released the tension that was built up. It helped me as I was more clear afterwards. Yes, waking up from the nap, I was a bit foggy, I was a bit cloudy, but when I came up here to the office today and to sit here and do the work, I realized that I was no longer so tense. I was no longer so tense, which inevitably allowed me to free up more mental will to do the things I want to get done. And that being to really finish this problem set. But before I could really finish any of it, I only made a little marginal improvement today for the 2 hours of work block. And the reason that being is I realized that for all the code I have written in this problem set, I am very easy to forget what I have written. In other words, it is very messy for me to really understand what I have done. And this has proved to be very ineffective use of time because every 30 minutes or an hour, I'll look back at my code and really scratch my head as to exactly what this means. And I'll find myself constantly looking through my code many times over, not sure exactly if that's my method of procrastination to try something new, or simply because I really wrote very messy code, which really is stopping me from being productive. In essence, guys, I really have to focus on learning how to structure code and learn how to write code that I would be able to pick up and understand if I take like a long break from doing this project. Because I can't imagine, guys, if I took a break, let's say a week, and I came back and my problem set, I'll definitely have no clue exactly as to what I have done, let alone just today forgetting what I have written yesterday, pretty much. So my focus next week is to understand how I could structure my code to be more clean so that me and perhaps other people can understand what I have written. And it won't be more of a time sink, a form of procrastination simply because I'm trying to understand what I have done. And this definitely will save a lot of time, but obviously the initial investment of time will be to understand how to write clean code. But I don't believe that will be an issue because this will be able to improve me. It will really save me a lot of time in the future projects as I write more complicated projects, which definitely will to come next week as I am starting on my first personal website, which will incorporate a forum and many other web pages that is going to be branched under this one domain, which definitely will require a lot of editing and coding, which it will be wise of me to make sure the code is clean. Therefore, I won't spend countless hours of just looking through the code, wondering what to do next. But what's most important that is this form of procrastination of me reading through the code happened simply because I am uneducated. I am not as knowledgeable. In other words, that I am reading through the code simply for another way to escape from doing the task and escape from experiencing failure, pretty much. Because I could read the code and I would be wondering exactly how I can solve this issue, but not knowing how to solve this issue makes me reread the code again because I believe that the answer lies somewhere other than the problem I know is a problem. So, really, this fear of failure comes in many shapes or form. You don't have to be scared of failure of rejection. You don't have to be scared of failure of disapproval, but rather this fear of rejection could come from just you not achieving success the first time around. And for me, that means to avoid writing some code because I am not confident in myself if this will be the right solution. And yes, rejection does come into place as when I am rejected from my solution, well, that is a form of rejection. So having a fear for something, guys, can really come in different shapes or forms. So don't just think that you're not doing anything today, not because you're not afraid. And perhaps you are afraid, but your idea of fear and rejection may be different to what fear actually means. So, no matter what you're doing, guys, it all comes from our human emotions, right? It all springs from our desire to avoid things and our desire to conquer. So, to understand this means that you understand why you're not doing things in life. So, really, if you are not doing anything today, that probably means you are held back by one of these emotions that you are oblivious to. And to not understand why you are not doing anything today, and to not understand or have no knowledge of your own emotion and awareness can really make you wonder that you're probably not capable of doing anything in life because, well, you're not trying. But you have to understand that you don't do things is because you are held back by one of these negative emotions. And until you understand this, you won't really conquer your own fears. You won't really conquer your own inner dialogue because, foremost, you don't even know what is holding you back from doing the thing today. It could be fear, it could be doubt, it could be any of those, but if you don't know exactly what it is, well, you can't build a plan to overcome this. And me today finding out that it is fear of rejection that is holding me back from testing new things out, will allow me to really improve on my own competence. You see, if I didn't associate my procrastination in writing new code towards fear of failure and rejection, even though it doesn't even come off as that, will allow me to think I am incapable of achieving greatness. It will really come off as that I am someone who's not destined to learn how to code because I just think I'll be stupid. But the truth be told is that I am afraid of failure, and the failure comes from me not being competent enough or have the initial skills to solve this problem. And not having the initial skills, well, that is something I could work on by improving on my skills. You see, I managed to extract the exact action steps I could take by simply focusing on how I feel. Is to understand what emotion is holding me back and understand what I can do to make that emotion go away. And then comes the to-do list. I could learn to code more. I could improve on my skills. I could watch other people code. You see, these are all the methods for me to overcome this incompetence, which led to the fear in the first place. So understanding your emotions and being aware to how you feel isn't just something to be called a pussy upon, right? Yes, we don't like to talk about feelings because we are men in general, but to be honest, guys, feeling plays a much more bigger role than just feeling itself, than just to whine about how you feel. But rather, feeling is a very strong indicator of what you should improve on and what you should let go in life. And if you are oblivious to your feelings, if you shut down your emotions, then I could say you have a strong disadvantage in your pursuit of greatness. Because your feelings, your intuition, is a very strong sign and a guidance of what you should be doing and what you should not be doing. It is a strong sign to guide you on the right path to improvement and the wrong path to improvement. So always be aware of how you feel and break your feelings down into action steps that you could take for you to overcome that feeling. Because without working at this root cause, then you never will solve the actual problem breeding within you. Rather, you'll look for the quick fixes. You look for the solutions that may fix your issue in the moment, but really it is only a band-aid solution masking your inner pain, your innermost problem. So stay more aware of yourself. Stay more aware of your emotions is really the key lesson today. Because without being aware and self-conscious, well, you're going to waste a lot of time, like if I have done, if I simply didn't understand that my procrastination is formed through this fear of failure. If I think that my failure is from something else, then perhaps I would never have understood myself. I would have never understood what I can get better at for me to overcome this problem. So, in other words, I could have just given up, but rather, now I can improve. Now I can improve and find ways to get across this hurdle. But I'm not sure if you guys can notice, but my voice has been a bit shaky, has been a bit nervous. So I'm gonna go downstairs and just kind of like chill out for a bit. Just chill my nerves out because at the moment I'm definitely not really still. I'll see you guys in a bit. So guys, the time is around 5:41 and I am gonna wrap up today here simply because I am starving to the point where I'm feeling a little bit sick, like I want to throw up. Not sure exactly if it was that I only ate like 200 grams of chicken breast or is that the chicken breast itself is off. Either way, I do want to get some food in as I am gonna call it a wrap today. Now, the main key takeaway, or perhaps the achievement of today, is to really plan out exactly how I want my website to look like. And by doing so, I have created a sitemap. And what is a sitemap? Well, this is a pretty alright visual representation. Pretty much just scribble down on your piece of paper exactly what you want each web page to look like. And I was a bit unsure at first, wanting to go for perfection once again, but I just understood that I have to get something down on the paper so that I could start building this next website. Because planning is super important. And I'm gonna be frank with you guys, if I did not plan this, then most likely I'm going to experience a lot more challenges, a lot more setbacks, and a lot of unforeseen problems that I will have to overcome. And by having a structured plan, at least you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. So you know what you're going to implement and you don't get sidetracked by implementing the next shiny object. And by creating a plan, it'll also allow me to at least estimate a good amount of time it will take me to complete this project. Now, in this website, I did take away one web page as I do believe implementing that may just be out of my expertise at the moment, and I'm not trying to make this project too difficult where it's going to discourage me. It already has enough new features which I have not yet tried before. So it definitely will keep me busy, and it is definitely a project I'm looking much forward to. So today pretty much has been that. Now I have done my self-reflection, although a very poor one. Why? Because well, I have work now and my schedule is kind of all over the place. So it's very hard to pinpoint exactly what I do every single day, as half the week I'm doing something else and the other half I am again doing something else. So it's very difficult to say for the least to stay consistent at something. Although it is quite possibly that I had managed to do everything a little bit every single day, but sometimes when I do have work, I don't feel like I have enough time to work on something long enough to really find a breakthrough. But this really all comes down to how I am using my time and how productive I am during those work blocks. Because I could be sitting in front of my laptop for 1 or 2 hours just staring into the abyss, or otherwise I could be doing the same and actually getting something done. So it really comes down to your habit of procrastination, right? You could be there for 3 to 4 hours just doing something, or you could be doing something and not really doing anything, right? You're both really spending time towards your goals, but one person is just kind of just being productive to waste time, while the other is actually getting something done. So you gotta really be careful with how you choose to use your time. And definitely when you do have the time to do something, put all your heart and effort into it and don't be afraid of failure, right? If you're doing something and you're afraid of failure, so it holds you back, it holds you here without improving, then you're really just wasting time. Like me, and I have done before, I have come into a coding session where I'm so afraid of ruining my code that I don't implement new code. I'll be scared that if I do this, then my whole code will not work, or that if I do this, then more bugs will come and it's going to be an absolute headache. But the truth is, if I don't do something, well, the problem isn't going to solve by itself. So be okay to fail and be okay to be discouraged when new problem arises, because only by doing so can you test your curiosity. Can you then find if your solution or if your idea is going to work or not in the first place? And if it doesn't, and if you have more setbacks, well, at least you knew that your old solution or your old route to solve your problems did not work. Therefore, you can use your mental energy to move on to the next big thing. But rather, if you sit in this place of worry and contemplating about whether or not you could make it work, then you're never going to understand if it is going to work. You're never going to see if your idea is going to be valid because you don't try. And if you don't try, you're going to just spend more mental energy in this uncertainty, draining you and draining every single bit of your energy. And by doing so, you're not progressing. Rather, it feels like as if you have done a lot of mental work simply because you are too stuck up in your head thinking about the fear and doubt itself. And that, in essence, is much more draining than experiencing failure on its own. Because at least if you do something about it today, at least if you try to do something, even if you fail, at least you move forward. And that is going to cost less mental energy. And I know it sounds totally weird, but experiencing failure is actually better than not experiencing any failure and sitting with your mind in the fear of doubt. That is going to drain you mentally more than failing, as this is what I have learned. That being said, I hope you guys had done your self-reflection. I do hope you guys had learned something from this. But if not, like always, I'll be here for you guys tomorrow. But until then, have a wonderful night.